Welcome to the September 12th, 2019 Folsom Cordova School Board meeting. In closed session, the board did not take any action. We will start this meeting with the pledge. Mr. Rob Thomas, are you ready?
Please pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin with roll call. Student Advisory Board, Scarlett Kaczynski.
Present.
Mr. Short.
Here.
Mr. Clark.
Here.
Mr. Reed.
Present.
Mr. Hoover.
Here.
Ms. Ranking. Here. Thank you. I want to make reference to the fact that a broadcasting is being made at the direction of the board, and that this broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. So thank you. Moving on to adoption of the agenda.
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Clark, second by Mr. Short. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public participation. I do not have any cards this evening. Reports of district organizations. Student Advisory Board.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So our first meeting was this past Tuesday. We had about 30 representatives from all school sites across the district. We are currently working on getting more representation from Cordova, Walnutwood, and Vista del Lago. We elected our secretary, which is Haley Bowen from Cordova High School. And the bulk of our meeting was discussing and brainstorming our SAB project for the year. So we'll vote on what project we do at the next meeting, but some of the common themes of the different projects that students had ideas for was involving special needs students district-wide, being more aware of opportunities outside of school to strengthen their preparation after high school, a wellness center and education on mental health, advertising student voice at sports games, so kind of having a booth where students can walk up to and say their ideas, teaching students how to treat each other, which is a big topic. We also confirmed our third annual district talent show, which will take place in April. The date is to be confirmed. And pertaining to the last meeting about phones, since we kind of had to elect the secretary and an introduction to the SAB meeting, we didn't have a bunch of time to discuss this, but it was apparent with the little time that we did that it must start in elementary school, that all of the problems arise from that when students first get their phone, and they need more education when they get their phone and not years after they have their phone. And I'll be opening a student voice blog on the district website pertaining to this subject, where students across the district, all ages, can comment on when they believe. So thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. California School Employees Association.
Good evening, board. Rob Thomas, chapter president. First thing I wanted to mention is I'm really happy that for our October 14th Professional Development Day, the keynote is going to be on outward mindset. I think that's a great choice, and thank you very much for that. I think that will be very helpful moving forward, making sure we are taking those steps in the right direction. The big issue that is on all of our minds, of course, is the budget challenge. And it is a huge challenge, and there, I'm sure, is going to be pain and plenty of it. But stepping back and thinking about the last time we went through something like this and what we might be able to learn from it, we're talking probably about 3%, $5.5 million over the next couple of years. 4%? Anyway, we are, it is going to hurt, but if you put that into perspective, 4% is something we can do, and it's something we can do together. Last time around, what we seemed to do is spread the pain as widely as we possibly could, here and there, little things that sent the message that what you do, maybe you're not working hard enough, or maybe what you're doing is not all that important. And I think it was much more demoralizing than it needed to be. I think a lot of people felt a little upset and probably not as valued as, I don't think we want to send that message. Based on what Don was saying at negotiations, I think we're taking a little different approach this time and trying to focus on a few big things. And there's, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of little things too, but I think that makes a lot of sense. We've added so many things, because they're good things in terms of the services we provide. But the essentials need to be there. The core services need to be there. Right now, we're cutting attendance clerks. We're cutting registrar hours. We're not filling the IA positions very quickly. We're taking away the core functions that we need to provide as part of the school district, the essential things we need to provide. I think we need to take a look at that and see if that's really the way it's the thing we want to do right now. If we're going to have to do this together, is that the way we are going to do it together? Or can we find a few big things and minimize the little things that tick people off and say, they don't value me, they don't see this, they don't know how hard I'm working? So that was the gist of my thoughts in seeing how we did it before, and I think how we can do it better this time. So thank you.
Thank you. Folsom Cordova Education Association, no report. Association.
Elena Cabrera, President of FCLA, and good evening, Superintendent, members of the board, and esteemed colleagues. Just a really quick update. As I mentioned last board meeting, that we are working on a survey in support of the AXA goals, and so I just want to continue to let you know that that is being right now. Administrators are responding, and we look forward to sharing the presentations that support our goals in the upcoming board meetings. And I'm also here to report that we have no report for DLAC, as we have our first meeting on Tuesday of next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda consent.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Clark, second by Mr. Hoover. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Our first discussion action item of the evening is adopt resolution number 0912-1906, approving the adoption of the Public Agency Post-Employment Benefits Trust administered by Public Agency Retirement Services. Superintendent?
Yes, at our last board meeting, we got the board's direction to move forward with a resolution to set up a trust for our post-employee benefits, and Eric O'Leary is here from PARS to answer any questions, and Ms. Crawford can talk about any specifics with the resolution that we have before you tonight.
Are there any questions from board members? I do have a couple of questions, just for to clarify. The money that we currently have in Fund 71, I forget the exact amount, 12 million or something. Those funds have to be particularly used for the retirement benefits, or do we have latitude to use them in any other way?
We have some latitude. For tonight, the item for tonight is just to establish the trust. The budget discussion, we were going to add to the budget study session. But yes, there is some latitude with the amount that is currently in that fund balance. Okay. And then when we establish this, whatever amount we put into this fund, we do have the latitude later to use those, to take those funds out and use them to pay, hypothetically, in a pay-as-you-go scenario. The funds that are in the trust are used for post-employment retirement benefits, correct?
So in theory, we could take it out of there instead of taking it out of the general fund.
Correct.
All right.
Which is, yeah,
Okay. So I just wanted to just to clarify, so make sure I understood what latitude we did have.
yes,
And we will continue this discussion during the budget.
correct.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the public? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Hoover, second by Mr. Short. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item up, approve the Kelly, I missed it. Approve the 2018-19 unaudited actuals financial report, actual revenues and expenditures reported on the annual state budget forms, general fund, and other funds for the state of California. Superintendent?
Yes, this is the time of the year prior to September 15th that we look at our previous year's revenue and expenditures and true up all our costs to see where we actually landed in comparison to our projections. So Ms. Crawford has that presentation, and the PowerPoint is up there on the screen for us to observe as she goes through it.
Okay, here we go. So as Dr. Cleggan said, we will be discussing our 2018-19 unaudited actuals. This is for the period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30th of 2019. And as we get started, I want to thank our Director of Fiscal Services, who's here tonight, Chrissy Blanford, and her staff for doing all the work that goes into the hundreds of pages that are in your packet. So the first slide is just kind of an introduction of what the process is for unaudited actuals. So we're at the first step. We bring this to the board for approval. We bring this to you once a year. As I said, it identifies the actual revenues and expenditures for the period. We also identify our unrestricted and restricted carryover balances. Once it's approved here, it goes to SCOE. It is then audited by our auditors, and then you'll see the final report. They submit it to CDE in December. We usually bring it to the board in January. So this first graph shows our restricted and unrestricted combined, and it shows the percentage by object code. And this is for our revenues. So you'll see the largest chunks are for our LCFF and our EPA. So that's really, those two really go hand in hand. It's three buckets. It's the LCFF, the state aid, property taxes, and then the EPA. That is the portion that we have to identify from the Prop 30 taxes. Is about 73%. And that includes classroom support expenditures. So that's teachers, that's staff development, school administration. Pupil services is about 9.2%. That's our counselors, our health services folks, testing, transportation. Our general administration is less than 5%. So actually that's a very good percentage to have. Our plant services is a little over 11%. That's our maintenance, that's our grounds, custodial, campus monitors. And then there's some little pieces for ancillary services, other outgo, and some other small expenditures. So Form 01 is for the general fund, and you'll see in your packet, that's pages 1 through 20. And it identifies revenues, expenditures, all of the designations. And the format throughout on the left-hand side is going to be the unaudited actuals. The amounts on the right are the adopted budget. Those numbers are what was approved by the board on June 20th. The amount of the liability for our STRS pension liability, what our portion of that is. You'll probably see possibly first. We had lower legal fees and settlements this year, which is always beneficial for us. And then some of those restricted program deferrals that go along with those federal revenues, those will carry over into next year. So the actual expenditures are lower than we had anticipated. Our capital outlay increased a little bit, and that was mostly for some maintenance equipment. Side for 1920, with those lower expenditures, we were able to add to the amount that we had already set aside. So that additional $1 million will help offset what we talked about in August for the revised budget for the additional expenditures that we've had to add. We've also added the designation for significant disproportionality. Our plan was approved late, so we couldn't spend until the plan was actually approved. So those dollars are carrying over, and that's about $473,000. We've set aside money for the fall staffing. We've had to add some elementary teachers and some secondary sections. And then our 3% minimum reserve also increased. Overall, our total unappropriated amount is still zero, so there was no change. This is just a summary of For 2021, it looks like it's going to be about 4.28. So we're still below 5%, so that's good. And then our 2 maintenance of efforts for our Every Student Succeeds and Special Ed, we met both of those maintenance of efforts. Besides general fund, we have our other funds in the packet. We have our charter school, adult ed, and you can see the list of all those others. There were no major changes from our projected actuals that we brought to you in June. So what's next? We are continuing to monitor our enrollment and our attendance. We appear to be about 50 to 60 kids up from last year at this time. So, I mean, that's good. We're still up. We'll make sure that we watch the ADA to make sure that the ADA also increases with that. We have started our budget meetings with our leadership team and our bargaining groups. We have our board budget study session in October. That's October 24th. We will be starting our LCAP discussions with our stakeholders, and there is a new revised template out there, so we'll be bringing that to you as well. We will have our first interim report in December. Along with that, we will need to have a board-approved reduction plan for the multi-year projections. We had identified some shortfalls in the years out that we need to have a plan for, so we'll be talking more about.
I think that's the right one. Yeah, that's right. The general administrative on the pie chart says 4.62%.
Correct.
So is that the salaries for the principals, the vice principals, employees?
We're not going to see the 3-year accumulation, but on the first page you can show the 223 million in our expenditures are at 229. So we have about a 5 million deficit. Is that correct? And so as we're compounding in the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to have to figure out ways to minimize that compounding effect. Is that correct?
That's correct. We are currently deficit spending.
Right.
So we have more expenditures than revenues.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be part of the discussion as we go forward, and that will be reflected in our multi-year projections.
Right. And then when we do our budget hearings coming up here soon, we'll be able to talk about that, be able to resolve that at the board. So I just want to make that, clear that we are in a deficit spending. I remember in the past we were up to 22% at one given time, and that was very scary.
Yes.
This is not as bad, but it's still deficit spending. Thank you.
Any additional? Alluding back to the piece of the pie that Mr. Reed looked at. So when you look at our administration, cabinet leadership, and those positions, what percentage are those positions? Because I recall us being relatively low compared to other districts. So do you remember off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head. I know we are well below the 5%. There are several districts that are also below 5% in the area. There are several that are well over that. We try to stay within that 5% and lower.
Thank you. Is there any questions or comments from the public this evening? Okay. Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Reed. Second by Mr. Short. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Our next discussion action item is adopt revisions to Board Bylaw 9324, minutes and recordings. Superintendent.
Yes, this board bylaw is coming back to the board for review. If you recall at the last meeting, Ms. Harrison gave us an overview of some of the changes that we would recommend in this policy, which are pretty minor, but to account for what we're doing with live streaming, I think the only recommendation to revise this policy was on page 2, which talked about the duration of time before we would destroy any recording. And move that from 30 days to 4 years. And other than that, that's the only recommendation we're recommending to live within this board bylaw. As far as the additional research on closed captioning, we're continuing to research. We've also been talking with other districts to see what they're doing, again, consulting with our legal counsel. And at this point in time, we recommend that we continue to do that, but as our legal said, you probably don't want it to be here in the board bylaw, but make it clear that you're continuing to research that information.
Mr. Short.
Thank you. I was probably one that was probably the most boisterous last time, but I did some more research on this, and I'm really glad that staff is going to research this a little bit more, because I'm starting to find out there's a lot of concern of exposure and liability, and from the ADA perspective and compliance. And I also did some research on other jurisdictions, and they're all over the map on setting policy. Of course, as I mentioned before, the ADA Act of 1990 was before there was actually this technology, but the intent and the spirit of the code or law is really to provide equal access to all. So if we're going to be doing this, we got to do it right. And I want to see it that way, because, we have to have equal access for everyone, and that includes our deaf community. But I did find out from the live streaming, other jurisdictions, the live streaming is right now. So if we're going to be more transparent and more engaging to the community, they would be sitting watching the live streaming. So there are some jurisdictions that do live streaming, but they don't post it or record it. Some just do the recordings for other reasons, but they don't do the live streaming. The reason is there's some logistic issues with child privacy issues, saying maybe also somebody coming in and grandstanding and using derogatory comments and harassment comments. We don't have the ability to edit those. We don't have a delay tactic in there for editing. So there are some concerns about that. I would definitely like to see staff look and explore how we would, edit and create a delay, just like you see on TV, where if something happens, there's like a 3-minute or 3-minute delay in posting, and there's a way to edit out or, create some type of safety hatch for that. Other jurisdictions just say don't do live streaming, but they do post the recording. So those are some of the kind of policy issues that we need to look at. So that was one of the other areas I was concerning. They also, some of the jurisdictions in the policy discussions were thinking about board usage on this. They've had board members use it as for grandstanding, use it in social media, use it for other things. I don't know what our policy is on for board usage, other than board meetings. We can refer to it, but they have discussions on that matter, so we might want to talk about how we're supposed to be using that media, and for personal use or out there for going out to voter base or trying to grandstand or doing other things like that. So those are kind of concerns other board members I've read. There's just a whole array of things that we do need to discuss from a policy level. The full analysis of the costs, if we are going to do this, I did see the video here this last time. It was really poor quality. We couldn't really see the presentations. ADA compliance needs to have the presentations available and subtitled, where it's also text readable so that a deaf person can translate that in there. It wasn't even available. So I know other jurisdictions have upsized their cameras to be high def and resolved it through technology, but those are the kind of investments that we need to do to make sure we're in compliance. So again, that was a concern, the full analysis. I'd like to see how we can discuss it as we do the further research. And so I don't, again, I think that is going to be a good approach. Also on the 4-year, the government code says 30 days. I think as we're researching it, I am kind of apprehensive to say 4 years. It takes flexibility away from us as an interim to say 30 days. If we do have a lot of video we're putting out there that is non-compliant, now we're saying right now we can't erase it for 4 years. So I have a little concern of exposure liability to that. So I just wanted to voice that and have that discussion with the board.
Any additional board questions or comments?
I'll make a comment. I just wanted to say thank you, and I think, as my colleague suggested, we can definitely continue to improve and continue to make the technology better. But at this point in time, I think that I would move to do the staff recommendation to advance this to 4 years, and I also encourage us to continue this new level of transparency and continue to make improvements.
Any other additional board questions or comments? I think Mr. Short brought up some good questions that as we get into this, we're learning as we go that some issues might pop up that we didn't talk about before. I'm kind of stuck on, do we need to keep it for 4 years? But in some ways, once it's out there, bits and pieces of it are out there. Do we see this as a may or shall situation again? That would give us the latitude to take the, yeah.
That's what my point is. It hamstrings us, the flexibility. We can still say 30 days. It just says may. And now we're putting 4. Now it's on like a mandate. The way the policy reads now is we can keep it out there forever if we want. It's just the 4 years just kind of locks us in again. And if we have exposure and we find out we have a whole bunch of videos, this will be in conflict until we find out exactly what we're doing. Or we just stop video until we do find out what it's doing, because we're just exposing ourselves to potential risk and liability.
Just to clarify, the language does still say may, correct?
It does. It does say.
I definitely think that, especially because a number of our community bodies do this very same practice with similar technology, I definitely am not as concerned as my colleague about that. But I think there's enough flexibility in the language, so I would move to adopt this the staff recommendation.
I'm comfortable with the may. It does to give us the latitude. In regards to Mr. Short's comments, some of the things that came up are decisions that the board has to make internally. Mr. Reed?
Yeah, but the word may applies to after 4 years passes, that it may be destroyed. It doesn't say it shall be destroyed after 4 years, but it doesn't give us the leeway to destroy it before 4 years. I want to make sure that people understand that.
We lose our flexibility right now while we're doing the research.
Right.
This is an exposure of liability.
Where did the 4 years come again? That was from CSBA?
Have Ms. Harrison comment on the 4 years and the recommendation we had from legal.
Good evening. The 4 years came from the fact that Kelly creates recordings, audio recordings, for the purpose of minutes. And the CASBO retention guidelines indicate that we should keep the audio recordings for 3 years because of the classification that it's for minutes. In the board policy, it does not differentiate between, it just says recordings. It does not say audio recordings or video recordings. So that is why we do the recommendation of the 4 years to meet the standard for the audio recordings, if that answers your question.
So I have a question. So if we don't have the audio streaming or video, why don't we define that and allows ourselves to align with the government code that says 30 days for the recordings of proceedings and broadcasting?
We certainly can do that. That was one of the conversations that we had with the legal counsel. In researching what other school boards and school districts have done, they've not done that. They have not differentiated for those who are live streaming or even retaining recordings for an archive purpose. So We can certainly bring this back to you and differentiate between the two types of recordings.
I think
if
that would be a good
help
idea. Yeah,
clarify.
because updating and improving based on technology. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. I'm just afraid of, right now while we're researching and we're posting a lot of
Yes.
non-compliant videos,
I
and just
agree.
from a common sense, practical approach of exposure to liability of an ADA, it just takes one person to sue us, and
It does.
we'll be spending quite a bit of money trying to resolve that.
Okay.
Pushing out weeks, will we revisit this possible
Yes.
change? Would not create a big problem,
Okay.
correct?
No, I don't believe so.
The other thing I wanted to mention, as Mr. Short said, concern with the quality of the video. You know, we made some adjustments from last meeting to this meeting, and I want to thank Samuel Portillo in the back who's helping us with that. But as we continue this research and look at potentially other equipment that we may need to improve the quality, I would like the board to stay open to the fact that, you know, if we bring forward a proposal that's going to be costly, that we're very mindful of what that cost is before we take that step forward. So, you know, just know that we have to be mindful of the cost, and we want to do this correctly. And if we do engage a transcription service, once we store this on YouTube, we want to know the cost of that as well. So that's, you know, those are parts that we're still researching. You know, in the meantime, I think, you know, we're still kind of testing the waters here and trying to improve, but we're still researching. So I do appreciate everybody's input on that as well.
I think a little patience here as we work through this and figure it out. I'm sorry, Mr. Hoover?
Just so I'm clear, if we do define, just so that we're offering, you know, clear direction here, if we do define them separately versus the audio versus the video, I mean, what are we suggesting the time period be?
We have to keep 3 years on the audio, correct?
Yes, CASBO recommends 3 years, and I think their last, the 6th edition of their guidelines, were mandated by 3 years because of the classification of the audio, but they recommend 4 years. And so we would want to make sure that we keep those audio recordings for 4 years.
But for the video, I'm trying to get an idea of what the board is.
The government code says 30 days. Yeah. It's right there in it's referenced right there. Yeah.
So
It says may, so it gives us the flexibility.
So we're not changing the may. So we're not asking them to change the may. We're asking them to keep it at 30 days. Is that okay?
So the video 30 days, the audio 4 years you recommend.
Well, could it be 3 years though? I mean, or does it have to be 4? I mean,
I'm just referencing CASBO is our business officers,
right?
And they have gone through and documented all of the different materials that we use as a school district to do our work. And our recordings that are meant for the purpose of minutes, which is what our audio recordings are,
right?
Because of the classification they fall into, they are to be retained for 3 years. And the recommendation that CASBO recommends is 4 years for audio.
Okay.
We have, in talking with Kelly about this, we have over 3 years of audio recordings of our board meetings, and that doesn't create a burden for us to have more than that. But if something were to happen, we would want to maintain 3 or 4.
Okay.
The only district that I did see with a change would be Sac City does have 4 years in their board policy.
So I have another question. So just back to the video streaming, I know I just had a meeting today talking about storage. Video is very massive in storage, so the longer you store it, the more costs you have to save over a period of time. So that also increases the cost. So that's why I'm saying if we can leave the flexibility, if we can differentiate it, we can minimize the cost and leave that 30, and then if we get in a budget constraint, we have the flexibility to make those cuts on the storage and purge.
Would be comfortable moving it to 3 years. I think that's fine. I'm comfortable with 3 years. I think 30 days is not long enough. I think the public should have access to these videos longer than a 30-day period. So I would motion tonight to accept the staff recommendation and amend it to say 3 years. So I'd like to make that motion.
Mr. Hoover, do we have a second to this?
I'll second.
Mr. Clark? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Opposed?
No.
No. So, motion failed 3-2. We will be revisiting this policy in 2 weeks. What? Were you, it was David added?
I was
there
a
was
no.
David was a no. We'll be revisiting this. This doesn't mean this is done deal, but perhaps it might be the best interest of all the board members to do. It sounds like Mr. Short did a lot of research on this. All of us become very comfortable with this topic the next time it comes back. Thank you. Our next, our next discussion action item is approve the time change of closed session to 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 for the October 24th board meeting to accommodate a budget study session from 4 to 5:30 p.m. Any questions from the board? Any
No.
comments from the public? Have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Clark, second by
I'll second.
Mr. Reed. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Our first discussion item this evening. First read, revisions to board policy 3551, food services, operations, cafeteria fund. Do any board members have questions on this policy? It's pretty routine.
No.
Any comments from the public? No additional comments from the board. Do you have direction to bring that back next time?
Thank you.
First read, revisions to board policy BP 5123, promotion, acceleration, retention, board policy 6174, education for English learners, and board policy 6179, supplemental instruction. Any questions from the board? Any comments from the public on this policy? See no additional comments. We'll see that one back. First reading, revision to board policy BP 6142.2, world language instruction, and BP 6145.6, international exchange. Any comments or questions on these policies from the board? Anyone from the public wish to comment? I will comment that I did like the language in the world language where it says we shall establish a process that engage the community in determining what languages are offered at our schools, which I think is a much better policy than we currently have, because there constantly is interest in offering additional languages at our high school. So I think we need to define how we go about doing that. But thank you. We will see that back as a consent item next time as well. Information item for your reading pleasure, 2019 Secondary Summer School Report. Thank you for the information. Successful summer school year.
I'd also like to thank our principal of summer school, Liz Sisson. She was one of 3, but she is here this evening. So thank you, Liz,
Yay.
to you and your team for the work you did over the summer with our students.
Thank you. Reports to the Board of Education. Superintendent.
Couple of updates I'd like to share with the board. A week and a half ago, we had our first Equity Advisory Committee meeting here in this room. It's probably one of the biggest groups I've seen. I want to thank Scott Meyer and Shauna Cook-Harvey and Elena Cabrera for their leadership during that meeting. What we were reviewing were some things like SAB was reviewing their projects for the year. And we have some great projects. A lot of them are around how we engage maybe those that don't feel as comfortable coming on our campuses, parents, community members, students, and how we give access to increasing the voice of those folks. And speaking of student voice, we had lots of students in the room, and Scarlett was one of those that joined us that evening. So I want to thank her for being part of that committee meeting too. So look forward to the work we're doing there and the projects that we're going to engage in. And they will be termed this year, so we'll be able to report back to the board on the progress of that. We also had some students participating today in a college and career day for our historically black college universities, and we had several students from Folsom High and Cordova High participate, and some were offered college admissions. So we're very excited about that, and I want to thank Shauna Cook-Harvey and Mr. Clark. You were also there today, and our counselors from both Folsom High and Cordova High, and our instructors that were there with our students. So more college and career fair coming up. We have our district-wide one coming up on October 15th as well, which will be hosted at Folsom High.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Student advisory, do you have any more to add?
No, nothing else to add.
Thank you. Board comments? Anybody ready? Mr. Reed?
Go ahead, Dave.
And nothing tonight.
Mr. Clark?
Yeah, quite a few things. Just kind of wanted to echo what Dr. Collegian was talking about with the HBCUS, and to thank actually Daniel, Scott, and Dr. Shauna Cook-Harvey for working with Dr. Alan Rowe and getting that together. I'm proud of the students that came out, took interest, but we didn't have a count from Vista. So that's making me wonder, are we generating any interest? Are we getting the students involved, engaged? What are we doing? Because one student is not good enough, especially when that student didn't show up. So I'm just wondering, how come we're not getting any activity from Vista? So maybe that's something we need to look into. I mean, it was a great event. I'd love to see another one, maybe in the spring. Hopefully that'll happen. But the one thing that we do need to do is to make sure that these kids are taking their SATs and taking those tests that they need to take. I mean, they were actually accepting kids on the spot. Now, whether our kids took advantage of that, I don't know. But, I mean, that is an opportunity for our kids to get to college and further their education. So hopefully, we'll get those kids engaged. I mean, if they need help taking their tests, let's reach out. Let's help them. Let's do what we got to do. Scarlett, I was thinking about this as I was driving in. The meeting yesterday that you had. Amazing job, young lady. I mean, they are really going to prosper from your leadership. It's kind of funny. She came to me and Vice Principal Crano from Folsom and asked, what could I do better? I have one word: nothing. Keep it going. You did a great job, so congratulations. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Short?
No report.
Mr. Hoover?
Nothing tonight.
I just have one. I wanted to thank the principals for David and I went out to the high schools to visit, and it was really it was a good reminder about how our campuses all have different needs, and how we can't be creating policy that's standardized across the district. It was eye-opening to see some of the challenges that Cordova High has and Vista's doing, and what Folsom High is doing. And in regards to Mr. Clark's comments about Vista, Vista has a strong SAT prep class that might be a reason why so many of the kids are already in the wheel to be college bound and might not be going to an event. But advising them of, making sure they're aware of the opportunity would be helpful. And that's it. Have a good evening. We'll see you next time.